edge in submission skills.
Tail of the tape, freestyle fighter Joe Slick, 22 years old, against Minowa, age unknown. Parts are known. He's from Japan. He is a bit lighter than the 6'1" Joe Slick.
Yeah, so he is giving up a little bit of weight, and in terms of punching power, that might have an effect on him. But I tend to think that, as we used to see, you know, Slick here, well-rounded, good submission specialist, but we really haven't seen his stuff yet. This is really going to be his baptism in the octagon if he gets beyond 1 minute of the fight.
It'll be interesting to see if he's able to do that. Now, Minowa, the breakdown on him is that he's very good at submissions, likes the leg lock, has some stand-up skills.
Well, everybody has some stand-up skills, but look for him to be going down. He's going to want to go down to the ground and operate down there. That's where his background is.
So Big John McCarthy will be our referee once again. It will be 3 5-minute rounds in our first of 4 middleweight bouts on the card tonight, all culminating with the belt on the line, with Tito Ortiz and Vanderlei Silva still ahead from Tokyo this evening.
Well, both of these fighters look like they're in excellent shape.
So McCarthy gets it underway.
They're taking time to measure, finding range. Let's see who throws the first big punch and whether they have the confidence. Yep, he's going to look for the takedown. I figured he'd want to bring it down to the ground. Oh! A back-arching throw, what we call a double-arm souffle.
Looking to put a quick submission in on the choke here.
Guillotine. I don't think he has it really sunk in there deep. He's got the legs locked.
Joe's style, Jeff, is comprised of jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and boxing. His mixed martial arts competition record overall, 16-2-3 draws. So with jiu-jitsu comes submissions.
That choke appears fairly tight there. You can see Minowa wincing to try to get out of it. There's room to his left. If he looks left.
John McCarthy in perfect position, as always, to see if there is a tap. Minowa able to break the attempted guillotine.
And Slick immediately jumping to a submission. I thought it would be Minowa looking for the submission first.
This is the second time in the octagon for Joe Slick. Second time in Japan. UFC 23 was the Delucia fight here in Tokyo. Just underway here in the first round. This young man, Joe Slick, has had the majority of his fights in the Extreme Challenge, where he is currently the #1 ranked light heavyweight.
Nice elbow by Minowa to the top of Joe Slick's head.
There's that Pat Miletich move. 2 to the ribs, 1 to the head. Couple of times. Joe Slick on Minowa. Minowa's longest fight was just under 12 minutes. That was his most recent in October of '99 in a Pancras event.
Nice guard there, unable to punch. And you can see Slick is very, very respectful of that guard, and Minowa very active with his guard, looking for submission locks, and it looked as though Slick just backed out of it. We know Minowa's not afraid to attempt to throw. He tried one already. There it is again. Little hip toss. See if he'll do it again. He needs to get that left shoulder under a little bit more. Inside trip. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Now we see some skills being displayed here by Minowa, Jeff.
That was a beautiful inside trip, what we call in wrestling. Maintain that overhook around the top of a person's arm while it's in the bear hug. And he's able to bring Slick down to the octagon surface. Eats a punch right there, but let's see what he tries to do. Is he going to pass the guard, or will he try to ground and pound here?
Now Slick had the closed guard a moment ago, now an open guard. And Minowa trying to stay active. Under 2 minutes remains in the first round, the first of 3 5-minute rounds. Mr. Nishi, Mr. Umaki, Mr. Samajima, and Tony Mullinex are referees. They have already rendered one decision. That was unanimous for Laverne Clark in our lightweight matchup that started the evening.
Elbow.
Just a rub to let him know that he's there. And another quick one. McCarthy with a good view of the action is Slick pushed up against the fencing.
And I'll tell you, that'll do as much as a punch, and you don't expend near the amount of energy using a short elbow. Now Slick's got his heels hooked in there on the hips. Let's see if he'll try to push him away or elevate him.
One thing that Joe Slick said about his opponent, as he said, another Pancras guy who fought Travis Fulton to a draw, he's probably pretty tricky on the ground. And it's interesting because Minowa has shown some wrestling skills that would kind of validate the statements that Joe Slick made prior to this matchup.
I figured from that Pancrase background, that's the first things you learn how to do. And most of the Japanese are pretty fluent with their submission skills. Jiu-jitsu, of course, originating there.
And Frank Shamrock had some success in that particular avenue of the mixed martial arts world.
Ken and Frank.
Absolutely.
Both were king of Pancrase.
Frank's first fight was in the land of the rising sun as we think back to December of '97. Always a wonderful opportunity for the UFC to go global, as we have done again tonight. 10 seconds remains in the first round here from the Yoyogi Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan.
Well, not a great deal of activity here. A couple short elbows by Minowa. Otherwise, pretty much stalemated there in the guard.
Well, sitting next to one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, partner, I know that when the throws are attempted, you don't mind seeing them. And early on, your guy Minowa attempted a big throw.
We like to hear bodies landing on the mat. I mean, that's the sound of wrestling, particularly Greco-Roman wrestling.
Let him fall back into it. If he won't give you the inside control, then you grab his wrist.
And here was that first attempt by Minowa to shoot the takedown, and Joe Slick doing a great job of countering, and immediately goes into a double arm salto to try to bring Slick over the top, but instead Slick slaps on a beautiful guillotine choke. And I didn't think it was set really deep at first, but it certainly was. I think Minowa was trying to relax as you should do, and try to weasel your head out of there using small movement, and he eventually was successful with that.
In the first trip to Japan, Joe Slick admitted being a little nervous, almost suffering from what we had talked about with Laverne Clark. This time you would expect him to be more comfortable. Much different than the start of round one. Now Minowa is throwing them. Combinations by both fighters, both never landed.
Now he's in trouble. Let's see if he's using a knee here. Looks like he went back to the choke again.
Well, Slick has had the opportunity early in both round one and now both round two to attempt to land and finish this fight via the choke, via a submission. Great look from overhead, our camera crew from the Japanese television station, allowing us to be part of UFC J3, UFC 25. Our partners in Japan, always gracious and wonderful hosts.
In the lock position, this is Greco-Roman right here, over under, and there's the throw. Beautifully done. He is unafraid to use those hips, and he does it well.
It's not often we see a side mount. It doesn't last very long, though, as Slick quickly moves his opponent into the guard. I didn't think Minowa possessed punching skills until a moment ago. We saw him try to throw it. Interesting to see if he can chop Joe Slick down from inside Slick's guard, though.
I would like to see him sustain that kind of punching. Anybody can punch for 3-4 punches really fast. It's a question of, can you do it repeatedly before a guy catches on to what you're doing or effectively defends it and then counter punches you. But that certainly startled Joe Slick. It came out of nowhere. It's a great tactic not to have done it up to then, particularly if you're not particularly strong at it. And that change of pace forced Slick back and opened up that takedown opportunity.
Almost to the midway point of our fight. Our fight duration scheduled for 15 minutes. We have almost had the two competitors go at it for 7.5 minutes, about 18 seconds away from the official midway point. The title fight will be 5 5-minute rounds later on tonight in the middleweight division between Tito Ortiz and Vanderlei Silva.
I'm a bit surprised. I thought Minowa would have a little bit more here on top, having that Pancrase background. But again, this is the first time we're seeing him. It's the first time we're really seeing Joe Slick in an extended fight.
112 the stoppage. due to the knee injury suffered by Jason DeLucia in the last entrance into the octagon for Slick. He is well versed, though, in mixed martial arts competition, as this is 22nd mixed martial arts competition. As I mentioned earlier, most of those coming in extreme challenge. Slick up against the wall.
Boy, I tell you, you could bring a knee up here, pop your hips in. Whoa, what power! Entertaining, but not really effective there, but it was a great attempt by Minowa.
Minowa was trying to work for a potential submission on the heel, but then
there's the knee.
Joe Slick got the big elbow and broke him down real quickly from trying to sustain anything down on the lower limbs.
You can see how quickly John McCarthy's down there to inspect the choke and to see how well he's defending against that choke. He will not allow somebody to go unconscious without breaking this fight. So you can see how quickly he's in there.
You want to talk about the top coach right now in the game. The top referee by far in the game is Big John McCarthy. Been doing this a long, long time.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly, and certainly looking not only at our policies and rules, but particularly John McCarthy's performances. No injuries, no serious injuries in the octagon. But you're right, in terms of experience, I don't think there's another referee out there with nearly half of what Big John McCarthy has.
No question about it. 43 seconds now left in round number 2.
And the pace has slowed considerably here. Minowa really hasn't attempted a whole lot in the top position. There he's elbowing the legs of Joe Slick, but those aren't really powerful, and you have to wonder if that choke took a little bit out of him.
Now, I said this Japanese crowd would be extremely silent. You hear some chanting in the background. Some members of the U.S. Navy based in Japan have made it to the gymnasium tonight, so they are carrying out the American tradition of being loud and boisterous when they attend the Ultimate Fighting Championship, as the bell sounds, signifying the end of round 2.
Awful interesting round. We saw some punching come out of Minowa. We see continued guillotine choke attempts by Joe Slick. And it's anybody's guess who's ahead, though Minowa does have some takedowns.
I see this pick up and drop in this match, and it makes me think of Frank Shamrock and Igor Zinoviev.
Now, that was from a double leg where he had full control of the hips. This one, he came over the top first and actually landed in control, able to turn and face Minowa right away. The key is you have to rotate him in the air so that he loses track of where his balance point is, so that while he's on the way down, he has no way of recovery. And this is, again, a very good attempt at a guillotine choke by Joe Slick, but Minowa eventually countered.
Double leg or not, still reminds me of the way Igor Zinoviev went down. That throw, if you will, that toss and landing ended the night with Shamrock and Zinoviev. But this is a middleweight matchup between Joe Slick and Minowa.
And that's why we like to say Greco-Roman is so exciting, is when a body gets that high in the air and travels and goes kaboom on the mat, it certainly gets everybody out of their seats.
Well, certainly it did a moment ago here in Tokyo. Now again, Minowa coming out in round 3 the way he did in round 2.
Burst.
Not afraid to exchange punches.
Bursts and he uses a jab
and
to
then shoot.
You know, to get the reach, and then he throws combinations, and that's why he's been effective.
I thought for a second there we were going to have an early choke attempt to start not round 1, round 2, but round 1, 2, and 3. But this time Minowa doesn't give away the head.
Might be looking for a neck crank there, but his legs caught up in a half guard by Minowa.
This has been close, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's been an interesting fight, a lot of strategy. I like the way Minowa came out punching like that, but now it's Slick in the mount. And he is upright. He has the opportunity to punch, and he trades it for a side mount. Not sure I would have done that. He seemed to be fairly effective there. Oh, hey, if you're going to do that, it's effective.
Absolutely. And now again, trying to land a guillotine. And there's a good knee. That connected. The knee got Minowa's attention. And here we go in the 3rd round.
Oh, nice kick by Minowa.
And that catches Joe Slick.
Oh, did it ever. What a cut. Oh, he's cut bad.
That was the kick a moment ago by Minowa.
John McCarthy's got to I think John McCarthy's going to intercede here. There's an awful lot of blood.
And he is bleeding from the nose area as Minowa takes the top. 3:15 on the clock.
If it gets in the eyes and he can't see, expect to see John McCarthy step in.
It's up on the forehead. It's over. It appears to be the right eye.
There it is.
And there's the intercede of our referee, John McCarthy. He'll get some attention given to the cut on the forehead
I didn't see a tap.
of Joe Slick.
I didn't see a tap. I'm assuming this is a... Yeah, it appears that way. They're looking at him.
Let's take a look at how this one connects. Oh, my.
Bang. Nice setup.
And it is over. The fight has been stopped. And Minowa victorious over Joe Slick.
What a kick. Boy, he never telegraphed it at all. Didn't see it really coming. Never tried it once before. But boy, he picked his moment, and it was effective.
This is about my 15th UFC with you, Jeff. Second best kick I have seen inside the octagon. The only one better, Petey Williams, when he took out Big Mark Coleman.